Have you ever stood in a city and just felt it breathe? It's this incredible feeling that goes way beyond just looking at a cool building or a famous monument. It's this sense that a place has a soul, a story that's told not just in its stone and steel, but in the light, the air, and the energy that flows right through its streets. So that's the big question we're tackling today. What's the secret ingredient? What transforms a bunch of buildings and roads into a place that can literally take your breath away? Is it some grand master plan, a super long history, or is it something else entirely? Well, we're about to find out. We're going to go on a journey to 5 incredible capitals, and each one holds a different piece of the puzzle. We're going to explore what makes them tick so we can try to decode the very blueprint of urban beauty. Okay, our first stop is Islamabad in Pakistan. Now, this isn't a city that just sort of happened. It was born from this one really powerful idea: to build a modern capital that didn't fight with nature, but actually lived right inside of it. You see, Islamabad is a classic master-planned city. So what does that mean? It means back in the 1960s, an architect named Konstantinos Doxiadis was basically given a blank canvas and a clear mission: create a capital where city life and the natural world could blend together seamlessly. The entire city was designed on paper before a single brick was ever laid. And the result is pretty spectacular. We're talking wide, tree-lined avenues that all seem to flow toward the incredible Margala Hills. And those hills aren't just some pretty backdrop. They are literally woven into the city's DNA, acting as its green lungs. This design gives the city this amazing feeling of peace and openness. But, as we know, even the most perfect plans have to face reality. And that reality? It's growth. A massive 73% jump in population in just the last 15 years. I mean, that kind of explosive growth puts a huge amount of strain on that original green dream. And you can see the results of that pressure right here. Between 2000 and 2020, the city actually lost 36% of its green spaces and saw a 10% drop in its water bodies. As businesses and houses keep expanding, that beautiful, delicate balance between the city and nature is under serious threat. It just goes to show you how fragile even a brilliant master plan can be. All right, so from a city shaped by a master plan, we're now heading to Muscat, Oman. This is a capital that saw its neighbors in a race to build the biggest, shiniest skyscrapers, and it deliberately decided to go in a completely different direction, one rooted in cultural preservation. And the difference is just night and day. While other Gulf states were building higher and faster, Muscat's leader, Sultan Qubos, pushed for a vision of low-rise buildings inspired by tradition. Get this, most buildings are limited to just 10 floors. That ensures the city always feels human scale and keeps its unique Omani identity front and center. I love this quote from Let's Travel Mag because it just nails it. The beauty here isn't about being huge and imposing. No, it's all in the details. The graceful arches, the intricate tile work, the beautiful dance between lines and curves that gives the whole city this fairy tale charm. And what's so cool about Muscat is that it proves honoring your past doesn't mean you're stuck there. You can see how the spirit of those ancient Omani forts has been reimagined in breathtaking modern buildings like the Royal Opera House. It's this seamless fusion, showing the world that a city can absolutely innovate without losing its soul. Okay, so we've seen a city with a single master plan. Now, let's jump to a place defined by 1,000 years of them. Welcome to Prague, a city where history isn't just something you read about in a book. It's literally carved into every single street and spire. Seriously, looking at this timeline is like taking a walk through European history. Prague's beauty was built up in layers, one on top of the other. It started with the solid, earthy feel of Romanesque buildings. Then the city reached for the sky with the dramatic points and spires of the Gothic era. Think St. Vitus Cathedral. Then came the Renaissance, adding symmetry and elegance, followed by the Baroque period, which brought all this drama and flair. And finally, in the 20th century, Prague didn't just copy the past. It broke new ground with the flowing lines of Art Nouveau and even pioneered the world's only examples of Cubist architecture. Each era left its mark, creating this incredible tapestry that somehow all fits together perfectly. Our journey now takes us across the Atlantic to a city that was born from incredible wealth and a really specific, really ambitious dream: Buenos Aires. This is a capital that basically looked at Europe and said, you know what? We're going to build our very own Paris right here in South America. Now, to really get why Buenos Aires is so beautiful, you have to understand its backstory. At the turn of the 20th century, Argentina was one of the wealthiest countries on the planet. This meant the city could be built on a scale that's just hard to imagine, with a budget that was literally described as unlimited money. Aesthetics weren't an afterthought, they were a priority. And the vision was crystal clear. The city's planners were deeply inspired by Paris. They didn't just want to copy its style, they wanted to capture its spirit of culture and elegance. It was a massive statement. So you see this grand, ornate architecture everywhere. But, and this is key, it wasn't just about pretty buildings. The design also focused on wide boulevards, beautiful parks, and walkability, creating a city that feels both grand and incredibly inviting at the same time. All right, for our final stop, we're shifting gears a little. We've looked at beauty through the eyes of planners, historians, and dreamers. Now we're heading to Tabriz, Iran, to look at urban beauty through the cold, hard lens of science, and to get a sober reminder of just how fragile it can be. So you might be wondering, how on earth do you measure something as personal as beauty? Well, researchers in Tabriz tried to do exactly that, using a method called landscape aesthetic quality, or LAQ. It's a fascinating way to quantify what we feel by measuring real things: the presence of history, the amount of green space, the harmony of the overall design, and the level of visual pollution. They basically turned a feeling into data. And this is what that data looks like on a map. On the left, you see the map from 1984, full of cool blues and greens that signal high aesthetic quality. But then look at the map from 2020, it's almost all hot reds and oranges, showing a massive decline. This is the scientific proof of a city losing its visual harmony because of decades of rapid, unchecked growth. But the data shows something else, something really fascinating. It shows how the city's definition of beauty actually changed. Back in 1984, the most important factors were its history and nature. But by 2020, as those things started to disappear, the most dominant factor became something called visual scale, which is basically just the feeling of openness you get from urban sprawl. In a weird way, the city's idea of beauty was warped by everything it had lost. And that brings us right back to where we started. After seeing cities shaped by master plans, by deep tradition, by layered history, by huge ambition, and even by scientific data, what is the secret? What really gives a city its soul? Well, it turns out the secret isn't just one thing. It's balance. It's this deliberate, ongoing, and often really difficult act of finding a middle ground. It's a constant negotiation between the past and the future, between nature and development, between a grand vision and the messy, beautiful chaos of human life. That's where you find real, lasting beauty. It's in the harmony Islamabad fights to protect between its green spaces and its grid. It's the identity Muscat chooses to hold onto while still looking forward. It's the history Prague weaves together across centuries of change. It's the ambition Buenos Aires tempered with human-centered design. And it's the fragile treasure that Tabriz reminds us all can be lost forever if that balance is broken. A city's soul, it turns out, isn't something you find, it's something you forge.